Now, I had to think about this. I feel like the top three here, these ones, they're all in. Like, they're not getting bumped for Shadow of the Erdtree. Something is, though. And I feel like it will be Like a Dragon. That's the one I think I have to take out here, unfortunately, for it. Not that it isn't deserving. I kind of looked at this over and over again. Black Myth Wukong, it does have that sense of it's not the highest rated game. It's like out of the top 100 even on Metacritic, but it had that kind of effect that I feel like would have enough people in the jury be like, oh yeah, Black Myth Wukong, I played that game. That was pretty good, and I know some other people played it, and it sold a ton. I'll put that in there as a nominee. So I'm thinking enough people may pick that one out. The nominations announced actually tomorrow on Monday in the morning, and I was very curious around which games would be announced, and I did make my own prediction, 6 titles that I picked. Well, it looks like I have to revise that list because some things come up now that has certainly caused a lot of conversation around what exactly should be nominated at an event like this with Game of the Year in the headlines. Maybe it's not necessarily just a base game itself that should be nominated. Well, we'll go over that here today because we can see. I saw this pop up. This was actually during the podcast yesterday while we were doing Spawncast. This was actually during the podcast that went up yesterday, the Spawncast on Saturday. Check that out if you haven't. But as we were getting towards the end of the show, this update came out. And it was from Wario64, who noted this over on Twitter X, that the Game Awards expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are eligible in all category if the jury deems the new creative and technical work to be worthy of a nomination. So no longer is it the idea of it has to be a brand new game that's introduced that year. You can have things that rely on that game, like an expansion, DLC, that can technically be nominated for Game of the Year next to brand new original works even. Well, this is not going over great, obviously, online, as people are kind of confused around this entire premise. But the strange thing about this is it appears that the page was actually just updated just a day or two ago. Now, this was posted up. I saw this by BGU, said that they used the Wayback Machine to check if the Game Awards statement about using expansions, DLCs, and all of that was there before. Doesn't seem to have appeared until November 15th. So if we go to the FAQ and rules section, we scroll down. I mean, they go through, they're pretty thorough explaining everything with the event, the award process. They used to have, because people will be curious about the jury, basically they say a jury of over 100 global media and influencer outlets that go through and will put together the list for all these different categories, which there's like, at this time, there's 40 or so. There's so many. And when I watch the show, they probably highlight less than half of them. Some they rapid fire through. Like, it is very quick and it's in the pre-show. So I don't even think they need this many awards in the first place. But I guess they just want to recognize as many companies, people, whoever as possible. Okay, sure, fine. But they had this 100 global media and influencer outlets, an entire page, and that seems to be gone now. I mean, if you click on this, which has voting jury in the URL, so if I click that and open it up, it just goes back to the home page. So I'm not sure what happened there, because I feel like other years we've been able to see the jury, which usually, to be honest, it's like Newsweek, NPR, and I mean, there are gaming outlets in there, obviously, like Polygon is one of them who's doing it. That we just looked at the article they posted up as this news came out, but that one was a little strange. Maybe they're redoing it and they'll put it out here after the nominations are live on Monday. So maybe this week, all of a sudden it appears again, sure. But the part that people are looking at, which looks out of place in general. I mean, look, we have this, it's all nice and even grids. And then there's just one little square right here, where the question was, are DLC expansion packs, remakes, remasters eligible? First of all, I don't know if I would put remakes/remasters in the same bucket as I would DLCs or expansion packs, because the idea of DLCs and expansion packs typically is that they then rely on another base game. So there's an entire game that's come out before, and now this expansion DLC needs that game to just function, to fire up. Remakes and remasters are not that, though. They're kind of their own contained thing. So if there's like an expansion that comes out and it's its own contained thing, I think that could be nominated for Game of the Year. Sure. I mean, it's an original game technically then that just lives on its own. But something about DLCs and expansion packs just seems weird to me to be up there for Game of the Year. It seems like it would be more fitting to have a category maybe that's for DLCs, expansion packs, remakes, and remasters, just all at once. And I say that because they do, when they do sports games, they do sports and racing games. Very strange category to me to throw together, but we don't always get enough racing games to make that competitive. Same with sports games. So throw them together. Okay, great. We don't typically always get enough DLCs or expansion packs to fill out that section. Same with remakes and remasters. Ones that are high enough quality, we'll say, because you get some remakes and remasters that feel very phoned in at times throughout a year. But you don't get enough, I feel like, to throw all together into one to fill out a category. I mean, then you end up in the same situation with the fighting game category where Jump Force is one of the nominees. So I get the concern there year to year. Maybe just one category like this, because then we start to blur the lines and try to figure out, okay, what would be a remaster or a remake that would be eligible and one that wouldn't be? In this case, they say the Game Awards aims to recognize the best creative and technical work each year, irrespective of the format of that content's release. Expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are eligible in all categories if the jury deems the new creative and technical work to be worthy of a nomination. Factors such as the newness of the content and its price/value should be taken into consideration, which I read that as, hey, The Last of Us Part 2 had a $10 upgrade that took place this year, and it was very good, but it's a $10 upgrade. It's not the $40 expansion that Shadow of the Erdtree was, which I know that, look, all right, the theory, the conspiracy theories going around right now about why this is a thing. And, well, if you look at the top rated games this year, look, I know it's not always go by Metacritic. Those are your nominees. I understand that. It's hard not to look at the top rated thing here and be like, oh, that is Shadow of the Erdtree. That's an expansion. Relies on Elden Ring, by the way. And if you play it, it's very good. It's more Elden Ring, though. Elden Ring already won Game of the Year, so more Elden Ring, in theory, should also be able to win Game of the Year. Okay, that checks out, but it's like, okay, an expansion that relies on another game to just start up and function, it just, I don't know, for some reason that doesn't necessarily compute in my mind, compared to, look, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, yes, the Final Fantasy VII Remake was nominated, but if you play the game, you understand that it's not necessarily a remake as much as a retelling, and it's very much different than than what it's based on. It's based on a game, but it's really a completely different game at the end of the day. So I now have to look at this and wonder, as people are, because when it popped up, even I was like, that's strange. Is this clause, this disclaimer that's now been added 2 days ago because of Shadow of the Erdtree? Well, I think, yeah. I mean, yes, I think so. So I think Shadow of the Erdtree is getting nominated. I feel like they basically just told us that here. But do I think all of a sudden, 2 days ago, they decided they want Shadow of the Erdtree to be there, and they went in and put that clause there? No, because as I was kicking this around and kind of joking about, oh, well, the fix is in, I was told, and then also I noticed Polygon had their own correction they had to do there. A previous version of the story incorrectly suggested that voters for the Game Awards might not have been aware of this rule, according to a source at the Game Awards, which I assume is Polygon, because they have somebody who's representing them, their outlet, who's voting on or part of the jury. I assume they told them, hey, they actually told us a while ago, before we put our ballots in, and just let us know the parameters. They did tell us that the expansion and DLC lineup would be available if we wanted to vote for it to nominate for Game of the Year. And that's my understanding. It was actually months ago that they were aware of this. So this isn't something that just randomly was decided a couple of days ago, even though I understand that is a very enticing conspiracy theory rumor and stuff to go around, sure. But no, that's not the case. However, why is it just now telling the public? I kind of think that maybe it's so really anyone's guess is as good as mine at this point. Maybe they were supposed to have put this out there and they didn't. They forgot about it, and now they're looking at what's going to be announced on Monday. Yeah, the internet's going to notice, as it did. So I now have to revise my Game of the Year prediction, which at the end of the day doesn't matter that much. I know that this whole thing is based around a show that doesn't matter that much, but I will say Jeff really wants this to be a thing. Like, he wants this to be taken seriously. He's talked about being like the Oscars of video games. He wants this to be like top level professional, and this part doesn't really feel like that. This still feels like, oh, this is a Game Awards thing that's run out of a basement or something, right? Oh wait, now the DLCs and expansions are able to be nominated. Sure. Anyway, I have to update what I had here. I double checked. This is my list of 6: Astrobot, Rebirth, Metaphor, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Black Myth: Wukong, and Silent Hill 2. Now, I had to think about this. I feel like the top 3 here, these ones, they're all in. Like, they're not getting bumped for Shadow of the Erdtree. Something is, though. And I feel like it will be Like a Dragon. That's the one I think I have to take out here, unfortunately, for it. Not that it isn't deserving. I kind of looked at this over and over again. Black Myth: Wukong, it does have that sense of, it's not the highest rated game. It's like out of the top 100 even on Metacritic, but it had that kind of effect that I feel like would have enough people in the jury be like, oh yeah, Black Myth: Wukong, I played that game. That was pretty good, and I know some other people played it, and it sold a ton. I'll put that in there as a nominee. So I'm thinking enough people may pick that one out. And then Silent Hill 2, that's the one that keeps tripping me up because I just mentioned conspiracy theories, but I know Jeff does not like Konami. He's made that abundantly clear. So how funny would it be if Silent Hill 2 was one of the nominees? I'm just leaving that there to help will it into existence. It's not going to win. I just want to see the awkward moment, the awkward pause that would come from Silent Hill 2 being there. So I have, I guess this is, I was going to put Shadow of the, that's fine. Shadow, it's fine. I'm going to put it like that. I think this would be my 6. I don't think Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree will win, but that would be strange because I looked at all the other years that they had, and I didn't see a DLC or expansion ever get nominated before. This would be a first, and it would be Elden Ring kind of doing it. So it's going to be very odd. Very, very odd. Let me know down in the comments, because this is a big thing clearly, if you feel like an expansion pack or DLC, if that should be capable of being nominated for Game of the Year, because in that case, it seems strange since the last several years, this is the 10th year, like not one time a DLC or expansion stood out and it was like, oh yeah, obviously. Like, I feel like Final Fantasy XIV has had numerous expansions in the past that probably would have been eligible, or at least rated highly enough to be in this category. So I understand why people are looking at this sideways. It seems strange.